Good morning, students. The topic for the today is fertilization and implantation. Fertilization. It is the process of fusion of the sperm with the ovum. When the male transfers the sperm by the penis into the vagina of the female, this process is known as insemination. Now, this sperm cells or the spermatozoa moves through the cervix into the uterus and reaches the ampulla isthmus junction of fallopian tube, which is the site of fertilization. When the sperm reaches this region, that is ampulla isthmus junction of the fallopian tube, the sperms comes in contact with the layer of the ovum, that is zona pellucida, which is guiding the sperms towards the ovum. So as soon as this sperms reaches there, the acrosomal secretion from the acrosome or the acrosomal reaction starts, which initially forms a fertilization cone. Fertilization cone is nothing but a protuberance which is coming out from the ovum. Now, acrosome dissolves the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane, through which the nucleus of the sperms enters the ovum. Now, this reaction results in the fusion of two gametes, and when these gametes comes together, now if you see, you can see the ovum have two nuclei. One is the male nuclei and other is the female nuclei. Now, if we can see, female nuclei has just undergone first meiosis. The second meiosis has not yet occurred. So, along with the male nuclei, one of the male centriole, that is the proximal centriole, also enters the female ovum. When this centriole enters, the female ovum undergoes second meiotic division. So the meiotic division is completed in the secondary oocyte, which results in the formation of again two cells. One is a large cells containing both the nuclei, male and the female, and there is a small cell that is called as a second polar body. Now, by this, the meiosis has completed, both the meiosis has completed. Now, both the nucleus are haploid. Earlier, the male nucleus was having half the number of the chromosome, but the amount of the DNA was still double because the meiosis 2 has not occurred. Now, both the nucleus, that is the sperm nucleus as well as the ovum nucleuses, they are haploid. Now they undergo fusion to form a diploid nucleus. Now the cell with the diploid nucleus is known as zygote. Now this is the time when the sex of the individual is determined. If the male sperms contains the X nucleus, then the female child will be born. If the male contains the Y nucleus chromosome in its genetic material, then the male child will be formed. So this is where the sex of the child is determined. If the question comes where the sex of the child is determined, it is after the fusion of these both gametes. As we move further, this zygote undergoes cleavages, which occurs in the fallopian, which starts in the fallopian tube. After the fertilization, you can see after the fertilization, it is divided into two cells. From the two cells, it has divided into four cells. From the four, it has divided into 8 to 16, and so on. When it is 8 to 16 cell, there is a mass of cell is there. This mass of cell is known as morula. Morula means a small mulberry. That is a fruit on the mulberry tree that is just like a mulberry. Now what happened? This morula, which has been formed, reaches just near the, where it has reached just near the uterine cavity. As it divides further, their differentiation occur. You can see in this the differentiation occur. There is an outer layer of the cell is formed and the inner layer or the inner mass of the cell is formed. This inner mass of cell further undergoes division and differentiate. When they further undergo divisions and differentiate, they form two layers. The outer layer is called as a trophoblast and the inner is called as inner mass cell. This inner is known as inner mass cell. So the outer is trophoblast and the inner is called as the inner mass cells. This trophoblast gets attached to the endometrium, that is the inner lining of the uterus, which we have already seen, which have grown during the process of menstrual cycle. When these cells come in contact with the endometrium or the inner lining of the uterine cavity, it starts to get embedded in them. When this uterine cavity or the uterine cells grow over the structure, this structure is called as blastocyst. It covers the blastocyst, and when it get completely embedded, that is, it is covered with the cells of the uterine cavity, this step is known as implantation. So at which state the implantation occur? It is the blastocyst stage. Very common question it is coming. What are the structures which are there? Now this question generally comes, if you can see here the A, B, C, D, E. They can ask you to label this. What is the initial? Is the ovum, followed by fertilization has taken place. 2 cell stages there, 4 cell, 8 to 16 cell stages there, which is known as a morula. And these cells are nothing but they are known as a blastomeres. What are they known as a blastomeres? This as where the fertilization occur in the ampulla isthmus region. From there it has moved towards the uterus cavity. In the uterus cavity, the implantation or embedding of the blastocyst or the early embryo occurs within the wall of the uterus cavity or the inner wall of the uterus, that is endometrium, from where the further growth starts, and the uterus will now provide the nutrition. As we have already seen, there is an increase in the blood vessels which has already occurred during the menstrual phase and which retains there. So this is how the fertilization and the process of implantation occur in case of human being.